Today we are going to talk about adding positive and negative fractions. The biggest thing that we need to remember is that we must have a common denominator when we are adding our fractions. The other thing that we will need to recall are our integer rules when we're adding. So we're going to think about those and think about finding our common denominator, and we should be good to go. So we're going to start with this first one, 1/4 plus 3/4. Well, if I rewrite that 1/4 plus 3/4, I already have a common denominator. My denominators are already the same, so I can ignore them for the time being and just take a look at adding my numerators. Remember that when we add fractions, we only add the numerators. So then I've got 1 plus 3 equals 4. My denominator doesn't change, so I've got 4/4 as my answer. That simplifies down to 1, and there's that. Now let's get into some negatives. So again, I can go ahead and rewrite this, and I'm going to take that negative and attach it to my numerator. Now in this case, again, my denominators are the same, so I can just focus on the numerator. So now I think back again to my integer rules. If I have -2 and I add on -4, that is going to get me -6. My denominator stays the same, so I'm left with -6/5. I can simplify that down to say -1 and 1/5 as my answer. All right, let's go ahead and look at this. So we've looked at how it works with positive. We've seen a negative. Now let's look at one of each. Again, I'm going to rewrite my problem, and then I'm going to attach that negative to the numerator. My denominators are still the same, so I can focus again on my numerators only. Thinking of my integers, if I have +1 and add -5, that leaves me with -4. I have 1 positive, 5 negatives. That gets me -4. My denominator stays the same, and I've got 6. This can be simplified down if I divide them both by 2. So my answer is -2/3. So again, I made sure that in all of these, I have the denominator is the same. So the same. And then I just focus on the numerator using my integer rules. When I go down here, I still am going to do the same thing, but if you notice, my denominator is not the same. So I'm going to need to first find a common denominator, and then I'll follow those same integer rules again. So I've got 4. And I've got 2. So those are not the same. I go ahead and find my multiples. 4 is a match. So I take 3/4 plus 1/2. I need my denominator for both of these to be 4. This is already a 4. So I just need to multiply this by 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Because I multiply the denominator, I need to multiply the numerator also. This gets me a new problem of 3/4 plus 2/4. Now I have a common denominator, so I'm able to once again, just like above, focus on my numerators alone, getting me 5. 3 plus 2 equals 5. My denominator stays the same, 4ths. That can simplify down to 1 whole and 1/4. When I move over to my negative, again, I do not have a common denominator, so I write them out and find my multiples. I've got 4, 8, 12. 12 is a match. So I go ahead, attach, again, my negative up top to the numerator. But this time I need to multiply both of my numbers so that I can get a common denominator. If I multiply this fraction by 2, 2 times negative 1 is going to get me negative 2. 2 times 6 is 12. Plus, over here, I'm going to multiply by 3. 1, 2, 3. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, so now I go ahead and I have the same denominator, so I can focus on my numerator. When I have negative 2 added to negative 3, so 2 negatives and 3 negatives combined, I will get a total of negative 5 twelfths as my answer. And that negative can stay up top attached to that 5, or it can kind of come down here. It is for the whole. It is one whole negative fraction. All right, one more example here. I've got 3/5 plus negative half. Again, I do not have common denominators, so I need to find those. 5, 10, 15, 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. If you already know those off the top of your head, you're welcome to do that. Or if you need to count it out, write it out for yourself. That works as well. So I go ahead and rewrite my problem, attach my negative to the numerator. Now, I want 10 to be each of my denominators. So to get from 5 to 10, I multiply by 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. And then from here, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5. Oops, I apologize. This should be a 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 2 times 5 is 10. And then here, negative 1 times 5 is negative 5. So again, I apologize that I wrote that 5 there. It should have been a 2 per the problem here. And then with a 2 as a denominator, to turn that 2 into a 10, I multiply it by 5. So now I have 6 plus negative 5. Again, thinking about just the numerators and my integer rules. If I have positive 6 and negative 5, I'm left with one positive. So that would be 1/10. So to make sure I get the appropriate answer when adding positive and negative fractions, I need to make sure that I have common denominators. And then when I have those common denominators, I just use my integer rules to add my numerators.